holder from Woody just to have representation there. But welcome to the last Hort Huddle for 2025. We're all pretty familiar with the general rundown. I think it's probably going to be pretty short and sweet today, given that there's Christmas next week and public holidays and a few people are off and all that sort of thing. So just jump into CRM. Those guys do nothing. Nothing's changed there. I'll just cover off mine. Sorry, just while I'm here. Manor Farms done the hamper run. Got some leaf sampling to do January, but otherwise they're in just a holding phase, I suppose, as you would call it, or Linton calls it, I think. Oasis Solids, we've just done a round of leaf testing yesterday. Still getting some, got some more product going their way at the moment. Pinnacle Drinks, I was at Coonawarra, did some next round of leaf sampling for them. Angove, they've just put an order in for their post-harvest nitrogen. So they're weeks away from harvesting, being in the Riverland. Well, their largest properties in the Riverland. So they are well and truly ahead of any other vineyard that I work with. Kingston Estate, that's their doom and gloom. Torrens Valley, they're currently harvesting. They were harvesting Van earlier in the week, and they were going to switch to Lappin. So I would say that Lappin probably starting to come off now. Interestingly, they were finished at the 23rd of December last year. And depending on who you talk to, they're sort of talking maybe mid, maybe even late January, depending. So it's certainly pushed back a bit, and they've got lots of variability in their fruit. So they sort of can't really go through and do a strip pick. They've basically got a colour pick, which is obviously adding to the cost of everything. Travelo, he actually listened and is actually going to put out some iron and manganese, which I've been telling him for ages. So that's good. It's a positive. So hopefully we'll get some good results there. And Olive Grove Fruits, I've just got them as a tier one. Interestingly, it's not really funny, but I'm trying to see the light side of it. Mark, who looks after the cherries there, has not returned my phone calls or texts literally ever since Tony Hannaford from Torrens Valley called them and was asking questions around their cherries. So it was either pure coincidence that he's just ghosted me then, or there's something more going on. So in the last phone call, I actually made mention that I didn't give Tony Mark's number. So anyway, see what happens with that. Oh shit. Sorry. What about you, Woody?
Yeah, what about me?
What about your clients? Where are they all at?
Oh, yeah.
And if you want a better view, you can literally click that drop down thing.
This here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Then if you just click the pipeline one in the favorites pipeline.
Favorites pipeline. Oh, okay.
Better, because I made the other one and I don't know how to get rid of it. And this is the one that's a bit better.
Yeah, it is.
The other one's still good. It's just a bit more scattered. This you can actually name to name if you
a
look.
bit easier to follow. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Thanks, mate.
So I caught up with them, man, yesterday. I did leaf samples there. I'm going to be then catching up with Red Rock in a couple of weeks after Christmas. They haven't got their hampers yet because they're overseas at the moment, but they're back in a few days' time, but it doesn't fit. Anyway, just the usual procession of regular leaf sampling, etc., etc. And then Craig from Auburn Vale is actually coming to my place today to pick up his hamper because we know about this and I don't have time to go and deliver it to him, but anyway, he's on the coast anyway because he comes here every weekend. And he was very happy to come to my place, so there you go.
Nice.
We might even have a cup of tea and a piece of cake together.
Nice. That's good.
Show him my garden. There you go.
That's really good. You better set the tripod up and film it when he arrives at the door.
Yeah, somebody else might set it up. Just saying. And then pecan farm results finally got back, so that was after 2 weeks rather than 1 week. Anyway, I've emailed them this morning. I've got quite a few DSAs to get out today.
Do you know why that was delayed?
Yeah, because they didn't get picked up in Stanthorpe as requested, and anyway, I won't go into that.
Okay. So okay.
It's
something very specific to that.
It's an advising DHL situation, and supposedly it was advised correctly, but something went wrong again, and we can't keep on having it happen again because they do not like that at all when they don't get the results back promptly.
Yep.
Anyway, I made multiple phone calls about that. Blue Gum Creek, yeah, I dropped his hamper earlier in the week and grabbed leaf samples last week, so he's got results back today. And Cotton Country is underway. Hopefully they'll get their last order by just before Christmas and avoid the rain so they can put on the gear they want to put on. Yeah.
Cool. Very good. Thanks, Woody. Chels?
Yeah, a bit of red there. Just been on the road the past 2 weeks, so I've been quite reactive instead of proactive a bit with the admin side of things. But all those guys I think I've spoken to this week, or definitely have. Kutri got their results back this morning, so that'll be a task to get onto. Montague are all sorted. They got their cherry post-harvest orders been put in. Stone fruit post-harvest will be done once they finish picking, and then they want us to do all their apple and leaf and fruitlet data moving forward, and they've implemented a apple remediation program with all our stuff across all properties, which is really great to see. So Josh, I've already added in your calendar for early Jan to come back across to Shep. Give me a hand if that suits. So they're pretty much all sorted. Cherry Hill are still harvesting, but we have discussed post-harvest programs. So we took leaf tests from in February and November this year. So I've just shot Glenn through the graphs, which is quite interesting to see. And we'll have a bit more of a chat about that in the probably next week or New Year. Drowson's got their last order. Their leaf tests have come back, so I need to get onto those and give Ian a call. And Agrical saw Michael today. They're just finishing their cherry harvest and doing stone fruit, but similar, will have started their post-harvest conversations now. So yeah, those guys are, I think that's it. Yeah. Thanks, Nate.
Cool. Thanks, Chels. I'll just run over into calendars. I realise next week's going to be slim and probably different for each of us, but I guess just so we know where we're at, I'm working, I've got Monday, Tuesday on, so just going to do a run in the hills. I've still got missing calendars I've got to run around, which is, I guess just an opportunity for another visit anyway, so I'm not too bothered about that. And then just going to catch up with Stephen Mitchellmore, which is a Langhorne Creek, just on how he's going. And then off Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday are pretty obvious. Woody, what about you for next week? You're away all week. Nice.
Absolutely.
Holiday time.
And that'd be great.
That's an easy one.
We don't get any emails about stuff not turning up. It's on cotton properties, that's what I'm talking about.
How are you going to go with your Leafs results?
Wait till the Monday after when I'm back.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
They're not going to be done next week anyway, I'd say. Thursday, Friday being Christmas.
They might. Oh, yeah, true. Depends on us, I guess, yeah. It's probably not. Nova Crop should probably, depending on how long they take for you, they probably should get them done, I'm thinking. But, yeah, from our end. Maybe that'll be the delay.
No one will be doing anything over the next few days.
Yeah. Chelsea, just got the Monday.
Just the Monday, leak tests, soil tests, and then send them off. And then I'll be off Tuesday, Wednesday, but next week I'll be on the following week.
Yeah. Very good. Just check Hamilton's, I suppose. Nothing really in there. And Josh.
Yeah, I got the 2 weeks off.
Enjoy, mate.
Thank you.
Cool.
Let's go work a different job. Should we?
You'd go to the cricket if it was still on.
Might watch it maybe.
Yeah.
Any reflections, or it's probably no point in upcoming goals. I don't think that's relevant. But reflections from this last week. Any sort of things that we think we did well or want to do better? Any goals or targets for the start of the year?
I think about that in the week we have off.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, that'll be a wind down for wind up bit.
Yep. I'll move ahead then. Crop stages, I've updated some of these. So obviously stone fruit still the same. Many varieties, as from my understanding, have been harvested, still are yet to come. Peaches and nectarines and plums. Cherries, depending on the area, they're obviously into harvest at the moment. Some areas, Riverland, have all been picked. Pome fruit, looked at some Kenzie earlier midweek in the Adelaide Hills, and they're sitting about 40 to 45 mil. I'm not sure what they're doing over in Vic. Grapes around EL29 in the later regions, so that's like Hills, McLaren Vale. As I said earlier, they're much more ahead in those warmer parts. Macca's, I'm not sure where they're at.
Their fruits, they're nut sizing at the moment. So
yeah.
I sent some photos on the chat, showed some of the nuts, but yeah, the nuts I showed in that picture are the fairly average block, so there are other blocks that are better. But
do you know what sort of size they are, Woody, like at this point, just for interest?
That, so
25 mil? What was that?
Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, just building obviously and maturing.
Yeah.
They'll just be fully white still and terrible to eat.
Yeah.
Like
what about
when you take a bite of one at the stage they're at the moment, it just fills your mouth like. You ever had a persimmon? Anyway, they're really. Oh, you want to spit them out at this stage.
I was very tempted to take one of those Red Rock macadamia packets out of one of the hampers.
I know. I was thinking too. But I didn't.
Yeah. Neither did I, just for the record.
Did you, Chelsea?
Sorry?
No, I was good.
Comes with like one bottle of wine in the hamper.
They all made it, even the Yetis. Eyeing them off though.
What about spuds? I threw that in there, just talking to Mark yesterday at Farmer Don's, who does the work with Stephen Mitchell-Moore, and I was asking about the growing season down here because I still sort of don't really understand it completely, and he was saying that they go from basically August to January and they just keep planting through that period. It'd be quite variable up north, wouldn't it, Woody?
Well, no spuds in at the moment.
No, so what's their season then?
Winter.
They plant in winter? Hang on.
February, March onwards.
Yeah, right.
Wickham Farms, who are at the back of just south of Warwick at Killarney, they have some high country and they do plant over summer. But it's totally rain fed.
Yeah.
It's hills that have got cattle on them normally, got high organic matter. They put in a big dose of CK55S, which is high sulfur, high phosphorus. And they plant, and if they get good rain, they get some good crops. And if they don't get a crop. And
Yep.
that's about the only spuds that grow in Queensland in summer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I suppose,
Cool.
yeah, you wouldn't be
When
able
you-
to plant. Sorry?
When you talk about this, okay, I'll share a graph with you. Let me go into. So I had a really good discussion with a friend the other day. I'll take you to. So I've known Shane Gishford for 40 years, and anyway, we're talking about a guy who he advises in Stanthorpe, who. I'll show you this. Anyway, he was talking about this guy growing zucchinis, and he does very regular applications of.
Sorry, we might not be seeing the right page. We're just on your email still.
All right. Okay.
Just wanted
Let me just share another page. Let me go back to the other one. Yep, sorry. Right. Got better? Can you see my graphs?
Yep.
All right. So have a look at this. We've had problems at Pecan Farm. Anyway, sorry. Let's finish that off on the zucchinis. So this guy does foliar, boron, and zinc. Sorry, boron and moly 3 times a week. He's totally focused, right? And he does nudging 50 tonne to the hectare. Most growers, I'm told by Shane, that most growers will do 17 to 20 tonne a hectare around Bunnaboo. Anyway, have a look at this. So we've had a hard time at Pecan Farm getting calcium up. And anyway, I've said to them recently we need to do something more about boron. So the talk about, boron foliar helps calcium coming up into the plant. So have a look at this with boron, the last little while. These are 2 of their blocks, just easy to look at. So we were here. I'll go back here, right? Line marker. Anyway, you can see how the boron's moved up on these 2 blocks on 3.2 there and then 4.2 leveled out there. But I'm just really interested to watch what happens here. But this is the best movement of calcium we've got in these that I've noticed. And I need to go back and interrogate the data better, but anyway, it's really positive to see the calcium moving up more like it should be. So if I go back to the same time last year, I haven't done this before. Let me pull those other blocks out. All right, so if you look at the same time last year, what was boron doing? That was a big crop on last year. So November, yeah, there's an improvement. But what was happening with calcium? That'll be intriguing. So it was going the other way. Anyway, that's what I'm going to watch more than anything all season as we keep on getting DSAs in, see where the boron is and see where the calcium stays.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is that with calcium application as well?
We did some optical. I need to
Yep.
just get that detail, but I'll compare them yet for last year and this year.
Yeah.
I'm very, very happy to see that calcium moving up at the moment.
Mm.
The boron was a bit low. You look back here at boron.
It's definitely lifted, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's one of the best news stories I've got.
You become an expert in using that graphing.
Yeah, well, a little bit. You're right.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, really good, Woody.
Yeah.
Just with citrus, where are we at with citrus?
My weights, yeah. I caught up with the store of citrus, dropping off a hamper on Tuesday afternoon, and he's the earliest probably in the area, and his fruit would be 3 inches diameter. Yeah, it looked really good, but he does it completely. He prunes every tree as to keep the plant open, whereas most of the other growers use hedging machines, just drive along, so it's a completely different outcome on what they get. And so a store are also got taller trees, and he'll climb ladders, whereas the other guys are focused on keeping the tree down. Fruit are at an easier height to pick. But yeah, he's probably the earliest and that's Imperial mostly that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Got the later varieties, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. What about avos?
Well, yep, they're doing well. One of my growers had a heart attack this week and got flown to hospital.
I don't know.
That was Smock Consulting. But yeah, Cherry Creek Orchards, the blocks we look after, they had defoliated to a large degree. They've been surprised how quickly they've come back. So the photos I sent through showed a fair few cocktail avos on those trees, which is supposedly to do with poor pollination, but I just wondered whether there's something more to it. I'd like someone else to tell me. But yeah, they've started to do okay. And yeah, I had a good chat with Cody at Cherry Creek. And the trees, so the trees aren't as heavily cropped as you could have imagined looking at DSAs a couple of months ago. But yeah, they totally lost, quite a few of them lost their leaves completely, and they're refoliated.
Yeah, right.
They're spraying on some stuff to minimise sunburn.
Why did they defoliate? Any sort of idea?
They hadn't been, well, I actually think it's a number of stress things, I think it's watering is probably 50% of it.
Yeah.
They just weren't keeping up with water because and what's happened in the last month also, they had about 10 days where they couldn't do any watering. The power from Ergon wasn't coming through. So they couldn't water for 10 days at least. Yeah, some real issues. But that was after the real defoliation.
Yeah.
Affected the next crop, obviously.
Yeah, not good. And olives, I'll just, they're into fruit set, and I believe they're into fruit set in Victoria as well. Funny story real quickly. Yesterday, I don't know, Josh at Francis went, I think you were there when they were replacing the irrigation lines a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they, looking at some of the blocks, because they did it when it was cooler, they'd ran the lines all the way to the end of the block, and then it all shrunk. And so they've come back in like 5+ meters from the end of the road. So then I got to run around and do extensions. It's like, oh, jeez.
Hey, Nate, Nate, you put their 3-inch dome in Queensland, that's for Imperials at Estora, because they're early as well. That's a fairly specific comment there.
Imperials, and what was the last point?
At Estora, that's the.
At Estora. Okay.
They're earlier than other people too.
Yep. Were you going to mention something, Charles, about olives or?
Yeah, I was just going to mention what we spoke about yesterday, just to add in, is going to Cockatoo Grove. A lot of the olives have aborted from the flowering. Not really sure why. Apparently it occurred in 2019. So what's happened is their first, the flowering was split. The first fruit that have set from the flower look really good. And then 2 weeks later, the second flowers have set and they've all aborted. So they suspect that it occurred similar to 2019, where there was a bit of a cold spell, and then in between the flowering, heat or something had come through and caused a bit of a stress response, leading to the olive trees to abort. But we've only really just had heat this week, and so when they would have flowered, it was about start of December, which actually was freezing. So kind of negates the theory that they're running with. At first I thought it was frost from phone call conversations, but looking at the tree, it doesn't indicate that's the case. I don't think watering is the issue, but I also don't believe that they have been feeding from a nutrient perspective. They've put the blend out, but they haven't really done much else. And they've been doing that for 3 years, kind of skating by on reserves. And Hamilton made a point in one of the huddles this week regarding like the regenerative. You get to a peak, and then maybe this is where we're starting to see the effects of not putting back into the system what you're removing after a 3-year period. So what other plan is to take a leaf test in 2 weeks and see what the trees are, what has actually set, because even though they've got fruitlets on them, you do a light brush and shake and they're dropping off too. So it's significantly reduced yield already this year, and to be frank, they're not really high producers anyways. So it's it's a bit frustrating, but trying to find some answers. I wanted to take a leaf test yesterday, but then I wasn't quite sure. Like, I think it was 42. I didn't really want to take a test because I probably will come back in 2 weeks to take one just to look anyways at a lower temperature. But I'd be really curious to see what boron and copper levels are sitting at.
I've forgotten from our conversation yesterday, but was it variety specific? I can't remember.
No, so I told you Aberquina, but I got that wrong.
Oh, yeah,
so it's
that's right.
actually Corrigillo and Frantoio.
Okay.
But apparently it's not, it's across the board. However, the area down by the river is better. So I don't really know what to make of that. I haven't seen it myself. Apparently areas that are not irrigated look better, but they always look a bit better. For some reason, I think maybe a better root establishment or resilience. I think olives are a bit strong in that department with their root system. But yeah, so in 2 weeks, hopefully we can see what actually has set and what fruitlets have aborted between now and then. But yeah, only a light wind and the whole fruit just comes right off. So
yeah, it's fascinating.
no, but Rich Glen down the road have the same variety, so I said maybe it's worth giving them a call to see if they've had a similar reaction. But there's very low confidence that they'll tell them the truth. They'll probably go, yep, it's the best season it's ever been. So it's so I'll probably try and give those guys a call and see if they might say something. But yes, that one's just still on the to figure out basket at the moment.
Interesting. Pia, you were going to mention something about hampers.
Yep, thank you, Nate. I'll share my screen. Okay, so just wanted to check with the delivery status of the hampers. Woody, have you delivered some of these hampers?
No to Red Rock, no to Perseus Rural. Auburn Vale picking up today. Top Citrus, yes.
Yep, yes, okay.
Yes. Cherry Creek Orchard, yes. Blue Gum Creek, yes. Estora Citrus, yes.
Okay, yep, thank you.
And that's it.
And then, thank you, Woody. I also sent you a message about the hamper. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. And then for Chelsea, thanks for updating yours. You still have a few deliveries?
Yeah, they're all done. I just haven't updated them this morning.
Yep.
Thanks, Pia.
Thank you. And then for this one, have you picked up the hamper?
Yes, but I can't give it to him to next year. Sorry, I lied. They're not all done, all but one.
Okay.
But I've got it.
Next year. Thank you. And then next, ham. Okay, let's skip to Nate. So with Nate, all good. Just with this one. Likely next Monday, okay. And then you will deliver the calendars, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. And over to Nathan.
Thanks, Peter. I'll share my screen. Yeah, so got a couple of things. Hey, firstly, also, I noticed you guys are still running sort of a slide deck for your huddles. Would it be possible, I voiced this to Hamilton a little while back when we started to, do this sort of thing. Could your huddle live just in here? So, we could potentially then share out the entire thing and you've got, the Broadacre huddle, your huddle and the whole sales meeting and a recording of everything. Like I'm recording this one now and I have done for a while and I embed it straight into here. And then, I think it'd just be really convenient to sort of look back. But we've covered.
Yeah, we can do that. Sorry, Nathan. Yeah, we can easily do that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great idea. So let's quickly do this. So support scope. We've prepared a little project, and I've got the purpose and observations outlined here, or myself and Ray do. Is Ray in here? Give me a sec. It's a bit unfortunate. It's okay. So essentially we get all different requests, right? Nate, you're probably the biggest one where we're sort of graphing stuff here and there, and it's undoubtedly because you can't get what you need from AIAG. So we're trying to think of what we should do for this next year. And obviously over time, just my journey with the company, when I started, there was Carly, there was the Nutri-Hub, and there was like a rotation of program managers and all sorts of stuff going on. But, you know, when I asked Carly originally, like, you know, what was the role of the Nutri-Hub? She's like, I'm not entirely sure. We just take it day by day. So we've still done much the same. So anyway, what I'd love to do is move away from reactive, you know, off the cuff sort of graphing requests towards a system that actually sort of allows us to leverage the data appropriately, right? So really what I'm looking to achieve is like, what insights are you trying to communicate consistency, like all the time? And then, you know, what are the holes with the application at the moment that is not giving you what you need? And what graphs are you repetitively asking for? Because with the app, you know, we all know it's pretty hairy as far as the features go outside of the data, but you can quite easily leverage all of the data now via results. So you go download multiple, I've shown you this many times, either soil and leaf, right? And you can do that very quickly and leverage other AI to create whatever compelling graph you want. And I've ran some experiments recently with a few to just show Apello what can be done, and it's really cool. You can show whatever graph you want. So yeah. So really your questions are, what are you trying to show your clients day to day with graphs? Nate, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, just well, say for example with Century, just to show them that visualization of the trends across the season. Just see where the nutrients are trending. I suppose they haven't done any, well, apart from 2 tests, they haven't done any real proper testing with us before. So they are very data driven. They work with Field In, they work with Series for their satellite or their plane imagery. They're quite invested in all of the data side of things. The graphing, as I've discussed a couple of times, the graphing for them, and I think it's crop specific, but if there's a, you know, even for cherries, if there's a small portion of the back end of the year that's the main season, it's really hard to try and send a whole graph that's basically blank with this really compacted section at the back and actually visualize it properly.
Yeah.
And I sent it, like, I was sort of like, I just don't think, wasn't really happy with it, but I sent it anyway. And she was just like, I can't read this. So that's why I've come back to try to get it graphed again on the manual Excel.
How many lots of data are you showing? How many different dots?
There's 4 now, I think.
Do you want to share your screen quickly, Nate, and just show us literally that client and the graph you're talking about?
Yeah.
But the roadblock is, what I'm getting from that is the timeline, right? It really needs to reflect the program and fill up the space and have it, you know, scaled appropriately, right? Well, we'll know in a minute.
Roadblock for me. The roadblock for me, Nathan, has been too many lines. Like, I think
Yeah, I've seen some of your latest, Woody. I know it gets real complicated. You need a good filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Auburn and different 10 varieties you're testing. Anyway, that's why I've just showed pull the other ones out.
Oh, well, I think we could come up with a solution for both of you quickly. Well, or work around anyway.
Very good.
So it's probably looking at a little bit. So there should be another one in there. Anyway. How many have we done now, Josh? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was 4, isn't it?
I thought we only just did the 3. I think
it's 3.
because you've only done it. What, I've done it once by myself, and we've done it
Twice, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
So that's
loud and
probably-
clear.
Yeah. It
Unfortunately,
just look. Yeah. Sorry, you go.
oh, well, you know, at first you said these guys are really data driven, like we have a lot of data, and it's not just leaf data, right? So if you're going to show them a graph, which is 3 data points in time regarding leaf, of course they're going to go, well, that's not the full picture. But I'm thinking now with what you've just said, can we request all of that data? And I think that's what we should do. And that's part of like a really solid analysis benchmarking. So you sort of go, hey, awesome work, let's get on board with it. Can you give me all of your data, or can I request from the labs, etc. you've been working with, all that data? If you get it all, me and Ray can help basically suck it into another AI alongside what we capture, and you can create very compelling graphs.
Okay. So what? You mean soil tests and?
Anything they have. So that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like, we tend to sort of just close up the lens on what we care about, so soil, leaf, and water. But if they've got any other data of any kind, we can overlay it. And that's where the magic happens, because, you know, for us humans, you know, it's very hard to overlay. You know, we don't work that way. We try to isolate stuff, but with AI, that's its strength. And if you prompt it accordingly, you can get accurate stuff versus, you know, don't use ChatGPT. It'll hallucinate for days. But there is other ways of getting what you need.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting point. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, that's good. I'll think about that more. And I just want to jump over here.
Well, it just depends on the
yeah, that's
potential,
that.
right? So if you've got a client, you know, obviously you said they're really data driven. You know, what's the sales potential? If it's literally 300K or 200, or even, you know, pull a figure out of the air, I think it's worth spending the 3 hours getting the data, making sure you deliver something that's going to blow their socks off, sort of thing. So this one's interesting as well. So you have got a lot. Oh, torrents, yeah, okay.
Yeah. The torrent. Yeah, it's a. And I guess my thought around it was just, if, you know, obviously we could, you know, realistically this isn't that important for this season. I think it's valuable to go back and look season upon season, don't get me wrong. But to have it on the same graph sort of is a bit, makes it a bit convoluted, I'd say, on this particular graph. But you know, obviously I could switch that to block, but there's just so many blocks that it would just be a monster of a graph, or monster file, really.
Yeah.
So I guess my thought, because, you know, we'll do another sample, you know, at this point next year, so early next year, which then puts it into another calendar year.
Yeah.
So it would just be ideal if you could just go like September, October, whatever it may be, to January, February, and then just like select that section and then go boop, and yeah.
I gotcha.
Be able to zoom in and see it a bit, see the trends a bit more, I would like to think.
Yeah, so on that, I'm pretty sure, Chelsea, you introduced me to it. There's another application called Soilbeat, and they're kind of in this weird phase like us. If you try to do certain things with their application, it either breaks or just it's not done yet. But they have a really good filter system, which is exactly what you're looking for here. So you can drill down, drill out, drill in to what you need. But just in the interim, and with some conversations around Torrens Valley, I tried to help Linton map all the data and get it all organised so it could be leveraged, because they're one of our longest lasting clients and they've clearly had success and all the rest of it. And there's a huge opportunity for overlay, but he never really truly got back to me with what I needed to make that a reality. But Nate, if you have inherited Torrens Valley and you're dead keen on leveraging it into more, I'm willing to give you as much time as you want to give it, you know? So if you say, hey, I'm going to smash 2 coffees and give it 2 hours, I'll jump into a room with you, get it all organised, and then we can create an overlay using either GenSpark or Soilbeat, because Soilbeat can actually import DSAs from us. So yeah, we can make something work to show them what they need to see.
Cool. That's good to know.
Yeah, and just with this, like obviously there's only so much time in a day / week, month, year. My idea was to pick 3 of you, so Chelsea, Nate, and Woody, And then if you guys want to delegate or pick maybe 1 or 2 clients, we could run this exercise, you could deliver the graphs. And if you come back with a glaring smile and 2 thumbs up, we could roll it out to another one. But I just want to like focus on a few and then figure out what you can do. Because there's a bit in the prompting and overlaying of it. So just soil and leaf alone, you know, tells you a lot. But if you start to do other things, it gets really interesting.
Nathan, the one thing that we need to be doing is putting in the inputs into the graphs. And you know the challenges we've had of actually putting it all into a graph and being able to read the thing and then being able to see what responses we've got. But we've got a lot of leaf and soil data for Red Rock, and they've just done leaf tests, dry leaf tests, as well as all the data we've got on DSAs monthly.
Yeah.
And also they've got new soil tests recently, and they put on a lot of stuff over winter to address high sodium on their home farm blocks, and we should be able to see some responses to what they put in as far as lime and our blend, because we did dry blends there as well.
Yeah.
So if we could really show them their responses from what they've got or the non-responses, then we can really build a picture for them, and then they'll be as happy as a pig in mud.
Yeah.
And you know, I know I didn't do some things right this last year, because last year we got good responses. Putting on X amount of manganese, I should have put on as much this year as last year, but I thought, I didn't need to.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're happy to actually pay for putting on higher rates of manganese and boron. Anyway, that's a learning thing for me. But yeah, the trees look great, but we just need to bring a few more things into that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I've got that roadblock, I guess, down, Woody. So yeah, you need to be able to see what caused the trend difference. And there's value in sort of stuffing up and, you know, knowing what you didn't work, or maybe you sent it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I actually did do this with Torrens Valley, Nate, and it seems to be iron, you know, that's probably the low-hanging fruit, and then the amount of magnesium going on as well, which is like a tie-up. So, but yeah, I'll show you that later. But yeah, Woody, that's down. So besides the filter, showing the actual products that went on, and ideally, you know, day one, you know the program that you're coming into. So just using Torrens Valley as an example, but when Tom first rocked up on the farm, what were they doing then? And what were the trends up to that point? And then the next year, what was the new program and what did that result in? But yeah, got that down. Just gonna go back to my notes.
I would be really, really happy if you're able to be available on Monday, the 5th of January, to look at some of the Red Rock soil data and leaf data together, and then try and build something, because I'm going to them on the Tuesday that week to do next lot of DSAs. And I'd just like to be able to keep this conversation going, that we're making progress on analysing what we've done, what they've put in, and what responses we've got.
Yeah, I could do that. If you send me a calendar invite, I'll make sure it's sort of locked in. But yeah, definitely.
Okay, sounds good.
I've seen that soil beat before, but I haven't looked into it much. That looks amazing, really.
It's a little bit, it's kind of like
Not
our
that
app, our app with more marketing put behind it. Like there's certain parts of it that are broken. Like if you try and export the graphs, you know, you're going to find you're not going to be happy with it. But it does show glimpses of it helps me, because I just go to Appella, I'm like, this is the filter we need, versus trying to explain it. So yeah, kind of cool. I've found some other companies over in America too that are doing something similar.
Yeah, it's basically what we want AI Ag to be, right?
To a degree, yes. Yeah.
Because it's got scouting and field observations in there as well. GPS geotagging.
It doesn't. So they're just trying, and this is what the other companies are doing. They kind of market it big, feel out the potential through interest and such, and then they will develop said features or put money behind it. So it's sort of like a marketing thing in a way. We're a bit different. We're actually the ideal scenario where we've got actual people using an app, actual users, actual clients, touch points.
Yeah.
And we've got the need, so you just got to deliver that, but we all know that's kind of difficult. So anyway, with these graphs, maybe, Nate, Woody, you've said a bit, but the next question I had here, what decisions are you helping them make? And maybe that's at Chelsea. So with your, if you picked one client for maybe 2026 or the start of it, what decision are you trying to help them make?
I think for me, the way I use the graphs is to tell the story that I want to tell, to be honest. Often at times, and similar to what Nate and Woody have said, just because the graph doesn't quite represent the horticultural season, it's a calendar season, I find growers get really fixated too much on the early side where that's gone and past, and it can tell some information, but it's not, it's just like redirecting them down a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. So most of the time I've used it to tell the both calcium side of things, and that is probably where maybe that February test comes into play, because that often at times is it's after harvest for stone fruit. Trees have, often we see calcium higher at that time because there is no fruit on the tree. And so so kind of going back to that rabbit hole, growers are like, oh, well, I've got really good calcium in Feb. How come I need to put so much out before spring? But, so kind of like, it's a good conversation, but it's redirecting them down a different pathway than I want to have, which is we need to focus on that calcium at the start of the season and need to more so look at the leaf tests in that October period to see, well, this is where calcium comes in at the start. Other times I'm using it for potassium, boron, sugar production. And then most of the time at that point, I'll use potassium-calcium ratio, because often seeing potassium become more dominant at the later end of the season, you often see calcium deplete as well. And so it's making sure that potassium-calcium ratio is within range. And I don't necessarily present it too much in season. I haven't really had many growers request. Kutri are big fans, and similar to Woody's point earlier, the goal would be to then, at the end of this, because we're taking a leaf test, Josh and I, every 3 weeks. So we're getting a really good data set across all their blocks and different properties. The goal would then be at the end of the season to take their program that they've given us and implement it into AIA to see what we're seeing from an uptake following the exact data and application was made. So that's often at times when I use it. But yeah, not so much in season unless I've got enough data points to really kind of nail home the story that I want to tell. Otherwise it can be a bit white noise.
Yeah, I was talking to another agro about this, and he really doesn't show graphs to anyone until the end of the season, and he just uses that to then justify his actions for the next program. And I was like, okay, that keeps things simple, but everyone's a bit different. But yeah, loud and clear, I guess. The first point you raised, which is like helping them make decisions, and you've identified, curves that exist with the growing cycle and such. Could we potentially use a client as an example and then just create graphs around that are ideal for you? So you go like, this is actually perfect. This is the story that I want to tell.
Possibly, but it gets quite tricky depending on what they're growing, variety, region that they're in, what their soil is doing. That's where that data overlapping can come into play. More specifically, yeah, it's it'd be great to have like, this is like the best case scenario.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, an ideal one. So if you had any client that's worked with hybrid ag that has really good data that we can leverage, and we can settle on a graph that's like, wow, that tells a compelling story, and then that gives us our endpoint to kind of design around.
I wonder, you might run the risk of being biased in that regard. Another option could be, there's so much information and articles published, like for instance, the finding that you've got 30 to 40 days post full bloom to really maximize calcium uptake in cherries and stone fruit. And I think it also correlates to apples, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But more so cherries and stone fruit, having something that's got a published third-party record behind it, implement that as an overlay into, say for instance, this is cherries, Torrens Valley, and you highlight the peak time in the program where you have maximized calcium uptake.
Yep.
And then you can correlate it with the leaf test to see if that's come up or gone down, or where that's sitting within that period, and then further overlay that with, you know, how Woody does it with putting in the program when they've applied.
Yeah,
and
the
go, well,
applications and such. Yeah.
according to, and then that way it's third party and there's no he said, she said biasry around it. And it probably, if you were to do that, you need to find a few different sources stating that's the idea. And so I think that might be a good option. I'd like to put that in, because then it makes growers think, oh, this isn't just a hybrid ag theory. This is actually like been a published third party source that they're using to tell me when to put calcium on.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's a lot there. But just to reel it in, right, we've worked with some of these guys for so long, like way before my existence with hybrid ag, and it's not about what we say. There's like literal data there that I'm sure would point towards it being the window of opportunity. I fully agree with you too, though, that you'd want to like further your ammunition with a study or several studies that also point to that conclusion. But what you're looking is like sitting across the table from you, the grower. We've worked with other growers and we've seen this time and time again. It's not only us that have seen this, it's other people. These are the studies. And personally, we've actually ran trials between our solution as far as products and other companies' solutions. And we've seen consistently these are the results. You know, someone's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. I'm going to trial that. But then it's up to you to go, hey, no, do not do a large amount, just do a small amount that's isolated to a block. So then you've got further ammunition to go, okay, this is why we would scale. It's just passing through a few different lenses and steps that like I really wish to flesh out in, 2026. So maybe if you have to think about it, but whatever the case may be, or your biggest opportunity, and maybe one crop type that you want to work on, I'm happy, similar to Nate, right? Like jump in a room with you, work through it, like clear out the noise, and then do that. You would just know far better than me who the clients would be, especially with you being around for a long time and undoubtedly working with the likes of Smithy and Ham and that. Like, there must be a client with that data that could show it clearly, or even a few.
Yeah, there's definitely a few that come to mind. I'll have a think as to, and probably better to catch up, maybe go through it a bit more bit by bit, just to see what we're exactly trying to pull from that particular client. And because I think there's probably some clients that need to get historic data in AIAG to really graph it properly. That's the other component of it all.
Yeah, and look, that's I feel like it's really quick to do. So if you've got someone that's working with another lab, so I don't know, just an example, APOW. Usually it takes a few emails with the grower giving the okay to them. They usually fuss around a little bit, but eventually you just get the whole data set and myself and Ray can clean it up. So then we have historic, our snapshot in time, and then we're really well positioned for the future, like really well positioned. But yeah, I'll do the same thing as Nate if you want. Like, I'm flexible, I work from home, right? Like, I can just work meetings around. So if you send me a calendar invite in the new year, I'll be there, and we'll work through it.
All right, easy.
So I'll quickly share my screen again, Nate. We'll just make sure we've sort of covered everything. Give us a sec. So what are you trying to show your clients? Woody and Nate, it seems like a timeline and sort of what you've applied and what does it result in the trends and nutrient interactions. And if we get a lot of those, you really start to get more understanding of that particular crop type's leverage points. What decisions are you trying to help them make? We see reoccurring trends all the time with different crop types, windows of opportunity. We roughly know if you apply this in that time or there's going to be a drawdown. Those graphs, I think, will naturally come out from this because you'll kind of go... It's funny, some of these graphs and stuff, like even when I was trying to get stories across, I would have something that I felt was really compelling and I'd show them and they just looked at me with utter confusion, and then I showed them something else that I didn't really like and they're like, oh yeah, definitely, let's do that. I'm like, it's sometimes surprising. What are you currently not getting from the app? I'll list the points there, I know, and then what forces us into Excel, essentially that. So yeah, Nate, time of the year, Chels, time of the year, Woody, time of the year. Is there anything you wanted to talk about more with sort of support scope?
Is there an easy way to put data in rather than just manually putting them into a graph?
Yeah, there is. So that's one of the first things I've requested from Apello, like a really efficient data import feature. Currently, it doesn't exist in ARAG. GenSpark can do a pretty good job of it. You know, probably kind of what Hamilton says with sales: get the data, make a mess, and I'll clean it up. You know, I'll figure out a way to make it work, whether it's just manually going through it in Excel or something like that. If you've got a really solid case and you feel like there's huge sales potential, I think it's worth the time to do. But yeah, in the future, Nate, if you look at that other application, Soilbeat, you basically drag and drop the Excel and it does a fairly good job of mapping it, and that's what we're looking to create in AIAG. All right, we'll go back to the next thing. So, Hamper, next thing, Chelsea. Chelsea, you raised over email about sponsorships and specifically for Cherry Growers Australia. So, similar vein to what I just talked about with the support scope, you know, this could be the framework for sponsorships in 2026. I won't go through all this, but from what I've read from the limited documentation, we sort of sign up to these things, but there's no real formalized way of leveraging them into more business and stuff like that. And I get it. Like, I've been through it before. I even, you know, started up sponsorships and sort of went to it, and some of them I found were really good. Some of them I found were a complete waste of time. But what I want to do is figure out, you know, what we can get from Vic No-Till and what we can get from the Cherry Growers, you know, Australia. So my first question would be, I've obviously got the FAQ. I have no idea what we signed up to before, but this is not a, you know, cheap exercise. You know, platinum, if we want to roll in there with the Cherry King himself, Smithy, is 15 grand. So, and then you get the gala dinner, which is equally pricey, and then you've got the welcome reception package. I've really got to drill into this a bit more, but ultimately I was just going to ask, do we want to do this? Is this something,
Yeah.
I guess, what's the backstory? I just don't know. I really don't.
So,
I-
sorry, Woody.
My number one point would be, like I have up here, is, are we going to be able to adequately service when we get an influx of people? Or do we build our team first? You know, which one comes first? And that's always a challenge for anyone, obviously.
Yeah,
That's not my issue.
and I think that to that, Woody, as well, is if you're going to sponsor anything, make it something that we're strong in and that we already service and that we have connections, and that's cherries. Like, we wouldn't go jump, like, I myself would not jump into citrus because I don't deal with citrus. I don't know much about citrus. And to me, that I don't have the capacity to take on something I don't know right now. So that's a really valid point, I think, moving forward. Cherry one, I have no idea what the package was last year. Nathan, sorry. I might be able to find it on an email I got CC'd into, so I'll have a look after this. But I think my question is, from that return on investment, did you have any particular metrics that you wanted to mark against? Because often at times it may not be you get a client direct. Like, the cherry industry is big but small as well, in terms of the amount of big fish in it is actually quite small compared to, I think, other industries. But increasing our exposure, because it is a high value crop. You know, they really do high value fertilizer program inputs compared to things like pome fruit. And they're a fast season, which I love because they're intense, but from a time commitment point of view, it's not like apples where we go from sometimes July to April. And we're already covering those regions. I don't think we did the platinum package, but I have no idea what we did. All I remember is we went to the gala dinner, which was fantastic.
Yeah,
and
looks nice.
it was good. There was a comedian, actually, was the MC. It was great.
Really?
I was a big fan of him when I was a kid.
Okay.
There was a welcome thing on that we went to, and we had a table, as most did, but I don't recall what our actual, I think it was just in the booklet that they give out. I don't think we were any of, like, the platinums or golds or silvers. but yeah, I'd have to look into that. But I think probably if there's like a metric as to what the return on investment from these packages or sponsorships that we're trying to chase would be easier for us, and that way, if we get, like, I got emailed this, I could then do the form and chuck in what I think is it ticks, or tick this, and this, or even do you go after the conference and you tick what it's achieved, maybe, or putting it in writing if that's something that you're after.
With this one, like, I can clearly see the return on investment. You know, we've got all the potential, and you just summarised it really well, but we've got the poster boy for cherries, right? Obviously, that works with us as a program manager. We should leverage that and ride that exposure until the sunset. So this is going to be expensive, but it's obviously a crop type we know a lot about, all the rest of it. So that's all there. As far as results go, and if you talk to anyone in a similar position to me, or if we switch roles and I was talking to a past marketing manager, it's always leads and what business are generated. I know there's a lot of noise in that middle section, right? But if we could get one other good cherry grower that, you know, you and Andrew Smith got onto farm, understood all of their data, understood their program, highlighted some areas of opportunity, got them to take action on it, that would be enough for something like this, because it's just such a big return on investment as far as, you know, the scale of the program, all that stuff. So it's really that simple. The icing on the cake would you be getting 2 or 3, but I think the end point has to be in mind with these things, because it's very tempting just to go along for the ride, and you sort of, I don't know, you know what it's like. You've got to be quite purposeful how you have those conversations at the gala dinner and all the rest of it. It's like still a work thing, but it's not, you know? So, but if you do it correctly, and sometimes it happens organically, you get a lead, and that's what we'd be measured on, same as you guys sort of thing with this stuff. But yeah, for me, like, we don't really need to talk about it too much. I just need to figure out what package is appropriate, and it's probably best asked of Smithy, right? He's with this stuff in and day out, so maybe we can re-raise this in the new year, which is why I sort of prepared it with Smithy, and we can just decide which one's probably the best fit. But it does chew up a significant amount of my budget, like, just for full transparency, marketing's 35k for hybrid ag. So, you know, 15 of this, and then Vic No Till, which is the other one. For me, my logic behind it is to give you guys one big opportunity that makes sense. So for me, this one. It kind of just lands out of coincidence. But then for Broadacre, it's Vic No Till, which is sort of similar thing. And Woody, just to address your thing about growing and just having the support to make it happen, that's over to my friend Hamilton, really. You know, that's the conversation to be had. I think obviously you just choose conveniently. So, you know, if you went to this and there's a cherry grower near Andrew Smith, he knows Andrew Smith, you could bring him to Andrew Smith's place, leverage that into more and all that sort of stuff. That would be the play.
Sorry, say that again, Nathan. I didn't quite pick up.
Well, when I went to this sort of stuff before, it sort of follows a bit of a rhythm, and I tried things that kind of didn't work, and what did work was, hey, grower B, I work with Alan Dickens. We've done a heap of liquid inject calcium this year. We've done it actually for 3 years now. Did you want to come and check out the place? And he's like, oh yeah, that could work. And it was like, I invited them there. The 2 growers talk to each other. I sort of stand off to the side. They agree on what to do, and then I just facilitate it. Whereas before, I used to try and convince people way too quickly on what my value add was, but turns out the more effective play is to get the growers talking to each other. And in this case, you've got someone that works for hybrid ag, which is just ridiculous. Like, I never even thought that would be a possibility, but it is.
Yeah. Sure.
Would it be worth, Nathan, if there's a particular budget, so something we've talked about a year or so ago, but if it's was it 35,000, and I assume, you know, 50-50 split between broadacre horticulture, just say as an example?
Well, yeah, I raised that for a reason. So if you help me, I can help you. So what happens with these companies is they typically set aside a standard amount of money, and, you know, generally speaking, they might not get much from it, and they kind of go, oh, well, that's the marketing. But what could happen and can happen is if we, you know, we start with 35k, we invest it appropriately, you know, and I'm open to any ideas. and then we can justify the return on investment. That money, then you get more, obviously, because it makes money for the business. And if we play it appropriately, and I'm starting to understand what my role will probably be, we have the ability with certain crop types to outspend any competition based off of the amount that we can get from that. So what it is like, there's acronyms for it. It's like, what is your LTV for a cherry grower? So it might be 300,000 or 400,000 if you play your cards correctly. So our cost to acquire, or CAC, could be really high, more so than anyone else that would logically spend, because they're not targeting and focusing appropriately. So in this endeavor, if we can justify it, we can get more budget, and then next year scale up and up and up. And that's how we run ads and everything as well. It's the same sort of principle.
Do the hampers fall under this budget?
Yes, they do. Yeah, it's a massive give back, but that could be. There's a massive flow-on effect of stuff like that, and it's actually kind of rare to see a business like us of this size give back in such a large way. But I think that's part of the secret sauce in a way. It's really, really good. It's just, at least from my experience with different companies, not many people do that to that degree. They'd have to be much larger to justify that give back. But yeah, it is a decent part of my budget. You are right.
Just for interest on that, Nathan, just quickly, it just made me think, and I know our old mate Linton's at this company now, but I don't know the size of them revenue comparison. But yeah, they sort of take agronomists and growers. I think it's more agronomists because they go through distributors, but they take them to like all expenses paid cricket and footy matches in corporate boxes.
Guess
and
who
all
did
sorts
that
of
as
things.
well? I did it.
Sorry?
Yeah, it works. So,
Yeah.
I could flip this, and you could kind of go, and then what high tech did to me is like, Nathan, we know you've worked in real estate before. You've undoubtedly ran like little marketing campaigns to generate leads. You get $500, see what you can do. And then I was like, oh, okay, I did this. I basically got box tickets to the cricket, got them through a mate that works at KFC, he gets them for free. I got them for $200. And yeah, I basically generated $300,000 worth of sales from it. So then I magically got $5,000. And then, if I kept going and going and going, you get more and more. But it's just, with this company, very different. We've just got to get that ball spinning, so to speak. But I'm open to ideas. And that stuff works. It's like cringy, and like Elders and Nutrien play it very well. But that's how they keep people. And it builds this sort of, you've seen it, I'm sure, at the field days and stuff. Sometimes the agronomy is so far from the priority, and what it actually is like football and the relationship. So the trifecta is, if we do the agronomy properly, the nutrition properly, get incredible results on farm, but we're also going to the cricket and having a beer and being a good person, that is kind of like, okay, you have that client.
Would it be possible, Nathan, for one of the huddles in the new year to have, like just as an example, have the 35,000 marketing budget, have the hampers removed or anything that isn't associated to the horticulture broadacre team, and essentially have a cap of the conferences this year budget, and then that way we can go out and discuss what the conferences we want to attend, and then pick as to what we think would be the best return on investment. But there might be different reasons too. Like the cherry one is a great return on investment because it's a stronger field of ours, but it is smaller the pool in terms of we already have contact with quite a few names, and there are a few big names to continue that potential relationship with. But then there are the other side of things, which is the citrus and the almonds, both absolutely massive fields that we don't really touch on or have much public exposure to, that I still think would be worth attending just to show face at if we were going to build in those more corporatized crops. So, and then is that something that we can just have as a budget, and then maybe in the new year huddle,
Definitely.
we go out, discuss which ones we want to do, and then we make it work, and then go, Nathan, this is our plan for the year per budget?
I think that's very smart, Chelsea. Yeah, and we can definitely do that. in practice, the most effective marketing strategy is like agile in nature, and it's from the coal face, so to speak. So you're going to know what, and you just said, the only caveat I'll give that is ultimately I'll be informed by Amos's and Hamilton's strategy around crop types and the focuses and stuff. And I do know a little bit about, behind the scenes of the logic of that, and it does make sense. So, but we can definitely have that conversation, figure out what comes out, and then sort of take action on it.
Yeah, because I'd be interested to know what package we got at the cherries last year, but I definitely sorry.
Whoa.
Definitely get Hamilton and Smithy's opinion, but I don't think it's one we need to overspend on. I think everyone knows Smithy in that space already. We don't need to shout that we're there. Definitely advertise he's a 2-time winner on the table. But I think that's one that we probably don't need to have the platinum or gold package, and could get away with something a bit lower because they do already know who Smithy is, and then who I think there is hybrid is pretty prominent in that industry, in my opinion.
Just go to Smithy and say, we'll go halves with you. You're the star of the show, and you make a lot of money from these award-winning cherries. So
I'm going to have a problem with Smithy, like anybody would have, getting a big head.
Oh, yeah.
True. I don't care who you are. If you're mortal, happens to everybody.
Yeah, when I first reached out to Olive Grove Fruits, actually, they mentioned, because they just put the cherries in the last couple of years, they're like, oh yeah, you guys do a fair bit of work with cherries, don't you? So they'd had contact with us in the past, but I thought that was an interesting comment by them. And also, just for interest on that, the cherry conference, I did hear that Torrens Valley is down for the field tour, as well as Flavel, who I've started working with this year. He's not on a full program yet, but doing something. Did a blend on the cherries and
What
doing
field day is this?
Sorry?
What field day is this?
Part of the cherry conference in Adelaide next year, right after Hort Connections. It's
bigger than Ben Hur. You can sponsor them to some degree as well. Wow.
Okay,
I would think you don't need to do a full sponsorship if they're got that. If you can get that profile at the field day as well, but yeah.
Well, that's it. Andy said it's what did he say? Said it's all be put on the spot sort of thing. It'll be all eyes on us kind of.
Yeah.
The star, probably one other thing I can share with these sponsorships, like the ideal scenario, and I still hope to live through this experience, is like in WA, we have the GRDC side of things. And I would love to see a grower that we work with stand up on the stage and essentially say, yeah, look, fundamentally, I took care of my nutrition and magically a lot of problems went away. And then me and Jamie are slow clapping off to the side. We nearly got that with High Tech, and Luke will probably have that this year, but that's the scenario you're looking for with the sponsorships. But anyway. Just to keep moving, Nate, you raised the missing calendar, and obviously that uncovered a bit of a trend there, and we're going to do some fix-ups on that, so thank you, but I guess you're solved, but we've got future ones to do. And then you guys would have heard my sort of spiel on the year in review. Is there any other success stories that you know of from the past year that we could slot in next to Smithy that you're aware of? So think industry exposure, someone you worked with, you played a part in, something like that. Clawing at threads here. Obviously next year, if we do everything correctly, it could be a completely different conversation. We'll probably have to pick the best ones.
Longview had a really good result on their Nebbiolo compared to their previous, so that's just last vintage and compared to their previous ones, but maybe probably my fault really. I haven't really got solid numbers around things. I mean, apart from observations and, they were certainly much healthier and they didn't defoliate like they have in the past from issues with sodium and all that. But in terms of yields and quality,
Leaderage returned in that case.
Yeah,
some of the long
leaderage.
tails
Yeah, I
there.
don't have those numbers.
It's okay. And look, I'm probably going to... I'll keep carrying on about it because I think it's so important, but it's mainly just to flag it for next year, right? So any new clients you get, any new leads, and like obviously we can generate leads and there's stuff I'm holding back on, but if you do get a new lead, it needs to be viewed in that lens. Begin with the end in mind is the same from the book and stuff. So solid benchmarking. So look, I don't want to talk about the agronomy just yet. Really want to know where you're at, you know? And I think in some of the early stuff I've seen from Tom and Hamilton and Judah even, it was done early days. It's just not necessarily documented. And that's probably part of the success of the business and what got it to such a good point very quickly is a really solid discovery or analysis phase. And I'll put out some more stuff about that in the future. And, you know, obviously if we target certain crops, we'll highlight it. But Nate, you know, you can backtrack stuff too, so it's not entirely lost, you know, you just, and they would have that information, so you just got to investigate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I mean, I know, say for example, with Torrens Valley, from my understanding, their record keeping is very, very, very poor, and so I don't know if they even have the data. I don't think they have the data metrics like to outline results year after year.
Yeah, I've got
Really?
the same, Nate. Sometimes the data keeping and there's like, oh, they'll go, oh yeah, it's bigger than last year. Like, oh, how big?
Yeah.
What was the pack? Like I don't know really. I don't get the reports, and it's like, so it's like, oh, it's all visual. Like, okay, you can't really, unless something goes wrong, then they have the metrics. So I don't know how it
I don't
all
even think
works.
Tony has the metrics if things go wrong. Like, honestly,
Yeah,
I really don't.
sometimes, but then the problem is at the moment is they're still harvesting, and often at times they don't get the reports till a couple of months later, or they don't look at it. So for instance, like guys like Montague, they'll grow cherries, they'll grow stone fruit, then they'll grow apples, and then at the end of the apples, which is April, May, June, then they'll stop, get all the pack out results, sit down and go through the metrics. But sometimes having them share the metrics isn't the easiest task. There's a lot of IP concern in some growers as well. So it'll be, but definitely for this coming season, which has only really just started harvest, probably would be worth in the huddles to keep making notes and check-ins ourselves to chase up on maybe getting a few more reports this year.
Yeah, and with that, like I view it like an opportunity because and I've seen this in different industries, like if you have someone that's completely disorganized and you sort of reel them in and make sense of what they're trying to do, you almost become invaluable to their operation and they then rely on you for that because they know it's a weak point. It's almost like understanding a pain point that they're completely unaware of and then framing it as a value add, and then they become reliant on you for it and you control all the data, therefore you become the decision maker in a way. So, but you can't, you know, it's very tempting just to default into what they do and sort of follow that along. But if you do that, it can all fall down like a house of cards, which again, I've seen as well. But okay, me and Pia will have a play. We'll see what we can pull from our past posts and stuff and make it look decent for this year. But then in the future, goal is obviously to have 4 very compelling, clearly articulated wins that would be shown as individual posts and then highlighted at the end of the year, sort of like our report card. I feel like I had another point there, but I've lost it. Yeah, if someone's... it's like the grower paradox, like the growers that really want to talk to you are actually the ones you don't want to talk to because they're talking to everyone. And the growers that don't want to talk to you are the ones that you actually want to talk to because they're so successful and busy that they just have a filter. And then with the data, it's the ones that have not recorded the data, don't have everything organized, are unorganized in nature, are the ones that would benefit most from the data. They will challenge you the least, and you have the ability to show the frame. I think that's all my points. Yeah, unless there's anything else you guys want to raise from the marketing point of view. No, doesn't sound like it. Thanks very much for the time slot.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Pia. So we just had a couple of questions. One was from me first, and I realise it's getting on a bit now, so I don't want to sort of hold things up too much. But I was thinking yesterday around things like stickers and wetters in foliars, and if anyone had any experience where they've included it in sprays and actually noticed an improvement on uptake.
What wetters are you referring to?
Nothing specific. Yeah, to be honest, I really don't even understand that space enough as much as I should.
I haven't, Nate, but probably the Broadacre guys might be a good point of contact for that. I think they've used or have played with that area probably more so.
Yeah.
But they'll have a completely different scenario with this because the volumes of water they don't put on like we do.
True.
Like, if you put on less than 100 litres a hectare, you almost don't need a wetter because it doesn't come off. You need to hold it on with something if you're high volume. Yeah.
I guess the reason it came to mind, I don't know if you guys remember the friend of mine who works for Graham NTS that was thinking about jumping over to hybrid. Put a post on the other day about something to do with spraying out, and he had the tsunami in it, and he had Coates. Something else. Sorry?
Adam Coates.
Yeah, Adam Coates, yeah.
Right.
And I sent him a message. He just said, you how do you go with that? And he said, I'll put it in everything. It's just like, basically don't go out without it. And then I saw, because Graham's doing these little YouTube sessions, and he showed one on cloak oil or whatever he's called it, cloak liquid or something, and tsunami, and it just made me think, like, is there something there that we're missing potentially that could improve uptake? I don't have any.
Sorry, did you? I was just getting a drink, but I think you raised stickers and wetters for foliar sprays, hey? Okay, yeah. So huge effect. With High-Tech had Fulva Wet, which was essentially half Fulvic and half wetter, and it was like our version 1 of wetter, and it makes a huge difference. Like, it's even noticeable if you spray it on a crop. Like, let's say you spray one crop and don't spray another in the mornings when you've got dew, it'll actually suck in the dew. So there's literally visibly no dew on the crop and then heaps of it on the left one. So that's pretty amazing as a photo. But then what we did is we poached a chemist with knowledge in wetters, because we identified that it was like a really key opportunity in Broadacre. Fundamentally, if the water's not getting to the crop, good luck doing anything. And huge amounts of the soil are non-wetting. Unfortunately, we're sort of beat to the punch a little bit with this other company called SC14, but we still did get massive market penetration with our new version of the wetter, and they've since made it better still. So, but just for you guys, with a foliar, 100%. Make sure you incorporate Fulvic, and then a product that could join the two could really have a solid case put behind it.
So how is it, like, I've always been told by Hamilton that FKF at 2 litres, 2.5 litres a hectare is enough for wetting. So how come we're so different to what you're saying? There's a big gap here by the sound.
I'd have to drill into it and talk more with Ham. It's not necessarily, I haven't talked about it much at all, really. He might be saying that there's enough Fulvic or wetter within the product to do the job, which was somewhat put forward from High-Tech, but then me and Luke ran trials and it was just like night and day. But just be aware too, you can also increase the uptake too much. Luke actually burnt a decent amount of a grower's farm to the point he was like gonna take legal action, but we skated out of it, because if you add too much Fulvic and they use selects, it can cause damage. And then also, it can also clean the boom spray, which was a weird one. So, like, if you add it, it'll actually pull the crap from the boom spray, and then it would go out with it, and it would basically burn the crop and then slowly not burn the crop. So these are all things you need to consider. You just got to figure out what the optimal point is.
Yeah, interesting. Cool. I'll do a bit more research and some playing around with it, I suppose.
Yeah, and then it does get like fulvics aren't fulvics or humics aren't humics is another sort of article that come up. There are different levels of effectiveness, and that's what I think screwed me and Luke up with a few. We actually had extremely effective fulvic acid, and then we went with the rates that we thought, and then it would burn the crop. So then we had to pull it back to, with a select 0.3 litres per hectare was okay, turns out. But anything more than that, the crop started to get burnt. So you just have to be careful. It's a good conversation though, because like your water quality and then your ability to get said nutrient into the crop effectively or chelate it, like obviously your 3 litres or 4 litres then go so much further versus like the grower sitting there going, oh, that wasn't really much of a response.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys. Woody, you wanted to talk about compatibility or probably more so efficacy of nutrients with fungicides?
In the data we've got from Red Rock for this year, so we put on calcium last year in September more so than in August because the product turned up late and they'd finished doing their fungicides. So we got good responses to calcium uptake using PowerCal at good rates. This year, our flower cal went on earlier. Because it was supplied in time and was around flowering, so it went on in combination with fungicides, and we haven't got any response at all, mate. So when I caught up with Michael Russo at M-Man yesterday, he said to me, nutbush macadamias do their foliars separately to their fungicides. Should that happen? And I said, well, yeah, we would believe that there's some credibility in challenging those together. So we just need to understand this space better so we can give better advice. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going in the tank. And at one stage, we actually got a lot of burn on the Mac leaves. And I'm still got old leaves at this stage that I'm having to trim off every time when I do my DSAs because of burnt leaf. There was quite a bit of burn. They didn't mind. They said, well, you probably don't need so much leaf, so it might be okay. Take down a bit of stress, it might hold on the ball. Anyway, that was very accommodating of them to say that, but I absolutely do believe we should be looking at this space and what is compatible, what isn't.
What fungicides are you referring to in this case?
I think it would have been Maravon, widely used, probably Belanti in Max. Those would be two major ones.
Now, Maravon I did look into with
Maravon is the name of the previous one. I think we've got it. Anyway, I can easily find that out, what ones they would have been. But those are two of them.
Just because Hamilton's not here, I could probably share a bit on this. He started like a GBT with, attempting to do or give mixing guidance, but the problem is our liquid products aren't organised and collated in such a way that I can use them for the app or this. So in the background, I started a project and I'm 2 steps in, and the one with Hamilton at the moment is to align all of the numbers in the base Excel. But once we've done that, what we can do is suck it into a custom GPT or one of these AI alongside the information for fungicides, insecticides, etc. And it will give very solid guidance on mixing and that. Whereas I used to think we'd have to create like a matrix like we had at High Tech, and it was just a constant thing to keep it going. But I reckon that would give you what you need. So you literally just go, hey, can I add this? And it'll go, no, this is why.
Yeah, righto. It would be good.
Yeah, it shouldn't be far off. It could be like in the first few months of the new year or something like that. You could have something for that if all goes well with the liquid products.
Would be good.
Yeah, I want it too, big time. I don't know about some of the interactions it's confronting. I was looking the other day. It's like there's a lot to it.
Cool. Thanks, Woody. Thanks for the question. It's important. I was just trying to look at the pH of Merivon. It's
Yeah, I'll shut up in a second, but it's about the sequence too, because you're right, Nate. It's like not as complicated as this works with that. It's like the sequence of which you add everything to the spray tank. So you want to artificially get your pH where it needs to be, add your fulvic and stuff like that, and then work through your products. And if you go the other way around, it'll actually cause all sorts of weird stuff, which I wonder, like, you know, a lot of this random product stuff, is it just like in relation to that? And if you've got like a set of instructions that you give, then it's just like, oh, well, you've covered yourself. Or if you don't, yeah, can be messy.
Yeah. And I wonder how many people are actually pH testing their final tank mix.
Yeah. That makes a huge difference to uptake as well, which they're not. No, hardly any.
Yeah.
Like spray contractors do, but every grower's like, oh yeah, it should be right.
Yeah.
Just on that too, is I had a grower do this organic mix, and I called another, he was wondering about the compatibility, so I called another grower who I know has done it before, and he said, yep, no, that's worked for me, it's completely fine, but he said, make sure this guy does a jar test first, because it's so sensitive to an increase in pH, which is sometimes some of our products can cause. The one that worked was because his water pH was quite low, but when the other grower did a jar test, it just solidified instantly. And we don't have a water test to know exactly what the pH was, hence why the jar test was even more important. But it's definitely made him go, well, maybe we should do a water test ahead of next season, because I suspect that his water pH could just be neutral, but maybe that was just high enough to push it over the edge. Because two exact same mixes, exact same rates, exact same water rates, one solidified, one didn't, and likely to be water pH that probably tipped one over the edge.
Amen. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about putting Power Cow organic in with EcoCarb, and I think that they've been doing this routinely. Like, they've been a pre-existing hybrid client, and they've been doing it on strawberries for.
EcoCarb with what?
Sorry, EcoCarb with Power Cow.
Oh, right.
And I think in the high water rate, it hasn't really been causing any issues. But he's the farm owner has got this guy he's not new to the company. He's pre-existing stuff, but he's sort of taken on the spraying and all that sort of thing. So he's like, I better check just a jar test. And it didn't solidify, but it went really cloudy apparently. And I was like, don't. Like, just, if you really, like, calcium is so critical, let's just not have them together.
Yeah. Mate, EcoCarb doesn't mix with anything.
Yeah.
You hear that word and you just say no.
Yeah. It's coming from somebody that we used to work for OCP.
High alkaline.
Good question. I just had a really, really quick, I don't want to take up much time, but really quickly, what's our thoughts on the suitability of a DSA post-harvest? Because we're heading to that point again now, and I'm just jumping back to post-harvest last season, and how I'm sure other people experience the same thing, but levels were just like, they seem to be really sky high once fruit comes off. And I don't understand the physiology behind it all, to be honest. But
can I jump in?
Mm-hmm, go.
I literally just worked on something in a 5-minute break. So give me a second. I should have this ready to go. Kind of going back to leaflets. So did a post-harvest with Cherry Hill, and we took it in November, which is when kind of post-harvest, like, fruit was still on the tree. They were kind of picking as we were taking the leaf test. But we did their post-harvest last year in post-harvest from last season in February this year. So kind of interesting Where does Zoom go? Here we go. Share screen. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
So both were considered post-harvest leaf tests, but this is just to kind of go and correct me if this is not what you're asking, Nate, but from a timing perspective, particularly with cherries, was November fruit was just coming off as we were picking leaves. February had obviously a few months between harvest to basically across the board, so it's not a great example. If we go to the nutrients, basically across the board, just the general trend is that nutrient levels were lower in the November leaf test compared to February, which makes sense because you've got the crop on the tree still diluting a lot of the nutrients or moving the nutrients from leaf to fruit. And then over that...
You should have a test in mid-August to see where they
were. That would have been good. This and kind of going to that is this has helped to probably get a middle leaf sample with Cherry Hill just to see how these trend. But their season pretty much kicks off in July. It's very quick. But from a timing perspective, from a post-harvest, it's worth taking into consideration if you take it at when fruit has just come off or, at time of fruit harvest, you will probably see a lesser nutrient content within the leaves because you've got that crop load dilution. If you wait a few months after, say in the February, you'll expect to see nutrient levels probably being within optimal to elevated because there's nothing to dilute it. And so all the reserves are still pretty much being pumped into growth and leaf matter. So from a just from a timing point of view, just kind of really highlights what you're trying to ascertain. If it's to really see how the tree has gone with the crop load, definitely take it right on harvest or close to. February was, I think it's been good in this example, but moving forward, definitely going to be taking it a lot earlier because February was just kind of like a diluted, it gave an indication. What was interesting though is the potassium and calcium ratio. You can kind of see that potassium as expected increases when the fruit load is on. Calcium in response dilutes out of that competition. And just makes it a really firm story for calcium at the start of the season and post-harvest.
The most certain thing on a crop, like potassium, like calcium.
Nitrogen actually in this, doing the Feb and November was interesting because we can see that at the end of the season, nitrogen level, ammonium and nitrate and total N were quite optimal, but the trees, through that vegetation, they're just accumulating it. So it makes that consideration for pre-spring nitrogen stronger, not to over-apply nitrogen coming into, because these guys usually do a rustica as their ground applied.
So why don't they put polypower in more instead?
Yeah, and so we still want to get some nitrogen in, but not do so much on the ground. Probably it'll be good to get a leaf test at this time to see how they wake up to really answer that question. But does that kind of help a little bit, Nate, from a timing perspective?
I can't see how not do post-harvest leaf tests.
Yeah, it's not doing it, Woody. It was more like me just thinking, is a DSA the best one to do post-harvest? Is there potential, should we be looking at more of a dry ash one potentially? Because would they be able to mobilise
What I can say from Rosemary Hill is that they are doing them, and we do see, and just getting, I think there's some benefit with having gone with, on the program is Nutricor Multi-N post-harvest, and they're definitely, those trees are doing pretty well year by year. And I'm pretty convinced that there is good reason to be knowing to get serious about Nutricor Multi-N. And that's what gives you confidence.
So is this a DSA, is it, Woody?
Yeah, do this DSA, and then you go, wow, it does match what we need in the crop.
Yeah, because I'll just quickly show you real quick, and I think a DHL had rocked up. Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
Hey guys, when Nate's doing that, just slight correction. I think I've been running too many meetings, my brain went to mush. My marketing budget's not 35K, that's roughly for the hampers. My actual marketing budget's around 115K. So I don't know
Thanks
why I
for
said
that
that. But it's a bit
You'd
of
have
a
more
different
money to
number.
play.
Correct. Yes. So don't go away
Good one,
thinking that I'm
good
good.
one.
It's just a brain fart. Anyway.
So this is just Kotsaris. This is post-harvest last year, right after they finished. Calcium and magnesium were pretty high. But then I came back and did one much later, 4th of, so same variety, block and everything. Did one in the start of March. And then they were just, sorry?
Go to the graphs in time.
I haven't set them up properly.
Ray does it. What do you mean? Ray does it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it will come through all right. I could try, but
Put it on graphs. Should be there.
I just don't know if all the blocks in that are set. And then it's, if I go block.
Yeah, you got some years down on the bottom instead of. Yeah, right.
So what's that? So it's just sort of, what was that? That's, is that the right date? 11th to the 10th. I want to get that.
When do they pick?
Hang on, no, I want 2025 because of that's there. So that was the number right after harvest, calcium. And then in March, it just was much higher.
Yeah, good. Perfect.
So, well, I'm just thinking, is that like, this really dumb questions? I'm just wondering what's going on there. Is that giving me an accurate representation of what the actual trees are going into dormancy with, or
It should build after harvest. Sorry, Chelsea.
No. That's it's an interesting one. I think what was their post harvest, because I think that would play it when they've applied and what they applied would be.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything with hybrid post harvest. He
What,
might
what
put
is
out.
potassium?
Sorry.
What is potassium? Does it opposite that?
Yeah, it's low.
He
Anyway,
would
this
be
isn't
doing calcium folio though, wouldn't he? Do you know?
not post harvest. No, he does all his own stuff post harvest. It's very urea based, nitrogen.
Because I would suggest, this is just assumption, but for cherries, I'm sure he would have been applying post-harvest between December and March. So I would take that March test would be whatever he's applied to be influencing what your results would be.
Yeah, it may very well. Yeah, it could be the case. I was just also thinking beyond that, beyond what the tests are actually saying, is the tree or plant, whatever we're focusing on, is that still has the ability, from my understanding, to remobilize some of those nutrients that we might not be picking up in a sap test. Well, I guess we could be, I suppose, because if it's remobilizing, it would be putting it back in the the sap flow. Yeah, okay.
They'll still remobilize. Yeah, they just needed a soundboard.
Yeah.
Can we finish up in the next 15?
Yeah, I'm keen. Woody.
Hey, just one thing with this, Woody, is like similar to the reframe around programs, the desired ranges, just bear in mind they're not absolute, it's more like a guide, because the big grief or like debate I'd have with Novacrop, and I did try and address it with them, is like, do they honestly believe the desired ranges for the crop type are linear across the whole season? That's ridiculous. Because like you could say with humans, like you can blood test us, tissue test us in the form of hair analysis, and it will be relatively stable unless I'm a woman and I get pregnant, which is probably the big reproduction phase. But with a crop, there is so many moving pieces depending on what phase it is, to rely on, okay, your calcium's in this range, you're all good, is just kind of silly. And what should be there is a nutrient demand curve, which is ultimately what I hope to understand for different crop types. And the way you achieve that is, like you said, Nate, like you obviously do a lot of testing, but what is the reality of the crop? Would you consider that an incredibly good spinach crop? So then what you would do is like rearrange your ideal ranges over that time horizon to suit that. So don't get, I guess, particularly with calcium, if it's above and beyond, that's likely a good thing and potentially is showcasing where the curve should be, depending on what the crop looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I mean, Agvita they do growth stage graphing that they'll show that things need to be at certain. I just assume that Nova Crop is basically like from the start to the end of the season, any time through, it's got to be within this window.
Kinda. I think you have to simplify things to a degree to like broadcast something of value, but with us, if we really wanted to get incredibly good at a particular crop type, that's the next step. And Agvita is actually on the right track for sure. But Nova Crop they're not keen to do that. It's interesting. I think AEA would do that internally based off of the data. And yeah, that whole mobilization of nutrients from the soil as well can be like manipulated, which I don't want to complicate it much more than that, but you can. Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, cool. It's very interesting. I don't know if there's nothing really else on here. That's basically it. So there's not really many of us in the field next week. So back, I guess the first week we're back. Woody, you're up for the Hort Huddle.
That'll be great. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks heaps, guys.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you.
Thanks,
John.
Nate.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Enjoy your
Christmas when I
afternoon.
see you.
Thanks, Nathan. Yep. Thank you.